Hi everyone, this is Selvi. Today's interview question is, as a Scrum Master, how he or she can support the team to prioritize and order the work items during the sprint execution. The question is very simple here. We all know what is a sprint backlog. During the sprint planning, we as a team align on the sprint goal and commit on the sprint goal, get the guidance from the product owner to define the sprint goal, commit on it, and to achieve the sprint goal, what are the work items that will be helpful? We plan it in our sprint backlog. Now, the very important thing is, we have so many work items in the sprint backlog. For example, team member 1 has 3 user stories, team member 2 has 2 user stories, team member 3 has 3 user stories. So it's up to the team member, they can start execute in any order they can execute, right? But Scrum Master can help, can support the team so that it is going to be really beneficial for the team. What is the benefit here? All the work items are priority work items in the sprint backlog. So here, why we need to order it, why we need to prioritize it, what is the need of doing that, and why Scrum Master should support on that? Team, they themselves can plan it. Of course, team as a self-organized team, they have pulled the work items based on their choice and it is available in the sprint backlog. So they know that what are the work items on their plate. Now, this support from Scrum Master is going to help the entire team. So let's understand what are the things that Scrum Master is going to do so that it can support the team. First thing is, we need to understand in the work items, what are the work items that we can plan for intermediate testing. Let's try to understand the very practical scenario in teams. Generally, the development activities, design, development, everything will be keep going on till mid of the sprint or even after the mid of the sprint, which means till 8 days we will be developing, we will be writing the code. Only the last 2 days or last 1 day, tester will be testing all the user stories that are coming from different developers in the team. So here comes the challenge. Because of a pending testing, we may not be able to complete the user story, or we will not be really in a situation to complete the work because already there are too many things loaded on the plate. So every work item may not be able to test it. So this particular challenge is a very common challenge, but there is a solution for this. Rather than solution, I say that this is a kind of suggestion that every team can follow. It is called as intermediate testing. What is intermediate testing? Why are we really waiting for 8 days to complete the entire development and then start the testing? Why can't we actually give some piece of work that already we have completed so the tester can parallelly do the testing and share the feedback for that work, so that at the end tester will have a very minimum load just to connect those pieces and do a round of testing. How can we do this? Let's consider a scenario. Team member is designing the UI. UI is available. Now he or she needs to do the back-end work, but UI is available. Now, why can't the team member can share this UI and say what is the scope that is already covered and share that information to the tester, so that now tester can do this testing in parallel to the back-end work by the developer. So all the boundary value analysis, all the equivalence partition level testing, all the cosmetic issues, and whether the UI is looking as per the wireframe or not, all the things can be tested by the tester. So now the UI level testing is done. the deep level testing. So if there is any kind of feedback, now there is an opportunity for the tester to share the information quickly. In this duration, what is happening? Developer is preparing the backend. So now the backend piece is available. Backend can be shared to the API can be shared to the tester for testing. Now quickly using the Postman, do the request and response and check with the different combinations with multiple requests and check whether the response is proper, all the positive and negative use cases. During this time, developer can quickly check whether whatever the issues or the observations identified in the UI testing, that can be fixed. Now once this is done, give back the observations. Now at the end, you have only pieces that need to be tested as a whole. Because the deep level testing for UI is also done, API level is also done. So it is a matter of checking the integration piece, which is slightly easy than testing the entire work at one shot. So for this, we need to plan the stories. Let's take, I am a team member who is going to work on 3 work items. One is a spike, another one is a user story, and the third one is another one user story. The first spike, there is no need of testing. I am just going to do a feasibility study about 2 technologies and I am going to share the report. The second one, which is a deliverable, which actually has both front end and back end that needs to be tested. So that should be picked up. And the third one is, I have a dependency from another person. So now, rather than picking the spike first, very well, Scrum Master can suggest a flow here. That is what we are expecting Scrum Master to do to help the team in prioritizing and ordering the things. Because Scrum Master knows that what is the sprint backlog looks like and what are the dependent items. Now, as I mentioned, the spike is a complete work that doesn't need any support from anyone. It has no testing activity. No one is dependent on this and we are not dependent on this from anyone. So it is very, very easy. So this can be kept aside. Now testing work is very important because we need to give it for tester. So why can't we pick that up first in the beginning days of the sprint and plan it? Now another thing is, the second one has a dependency with another person. Someone else needs to complete their work, then only I can start the other user story. That I need to wait for some more time. We will talk about that point also, how Scrum Master can support there. So very importantly, it is for every person who is in the team who is working, they should know what order they need to pick it up. So we have resolved the problem of testing bandwidth. So with the help of intermediate testing, we can resolve this. So what Scrum Master should do? They should always plan, okay, these all are the stories which need testing. How well we can plan it, how well we can support. We no need to push the team to go in that order, but this is just a guidance that as a Scrum Master we are giving to the team, saying that, hey, this needs testing, and if you complete this first and give it to the tester, they have ample amount of time to manage the work. In that time when the testing is going on, you work on other spike or other work item that you have on your plate. So that is the way we are going to suggest, which actually makes the sprint execution much smoother. And there will not be any kind of a burden at the end of the sprint that we have too many items to test. So we have solved one problem with one suggestion. Now, second thing is, we talked about the dependency. I am dependent on someone. Generally, we should not encourage dependent work on same sprint. In the same sprint execution, we should not encourage dependent work items. Like person A is dependent on person B's work. That is not the right thing. What will happen if the other person is on emergency leave or sick leave? Then without that work, the other person also is getting blocked. So generally it is not recommended. If we see that there is a dependency pattern that is coming up, always it is advised, first complete the work that will give way for the next work item in such a way that we are completing the first important work, the basic fundamental work to be completed in sprint 1, and in sprint 2, the work that actually has dependency should be taken up, so that we have good amount of time in the sprint, and we also have the opportunity to plan it based on the completion of sprint 1 with this particular work item, we can plan whether to pick the other work item in sprint 2 or not. If this is not completed, let's not commit on that. If this is completed and it is in good shape, we can plan it. So dependency is generally not a good idea to have dependent items on the same sprint, but because of some reason we have no other choice, we planned it in this fashion. Now it is very important, during the sprint planning itself, Scrum Master should say, hey, this work item, these 3 people are dependent on this work item. So what we need to do, this work item should be completed as early as possible so that other team members get the deliverable from this work item so that they can manage the work. So this we need to explain them very clearly. For example, person A is working on work item 1. Till work item 1 is not completed, work item 2, 3 and 4 cannot be taken up. That is the situation. So even the team member A has other work items to work like 5, 6, 7. We should encourage, please pick the work item 1 because 2, 3, 4 can be started only when this work is completed. So if by chance team member is picking the other work item, team member A is picking work item 7, we should say, please do not start with work item 7 because work item 1, there are many people who are dependent on this closure. So let's target for work item 1. So dependency management within the sprint. Okay. So this is the problem statement of dependency, and as a Scrum Master, you should encourage the team to pick up the right order. All the work items are of priority, but prioritizing and ordering based on the current sprint backlog what we have is very important, and that should be supported by the Scrum Master for the team. So first we have talked about intermediate testing, second one we talked about dependency. Third one is all about, this situation may not come in all sprints, but some sprints you may see this. When you are discussing with the product owner, you came to know your product management team is completely on vacation on the second week of the sprint. Marketing, sales people are available, business owners are available, but few of the key product managers, 2 of them are not available. This information you got it from your product owner. Now you are working on a very, very important work item that is going to be the fundamental piece for the upcoming stories that are going to be picked in the upcoming sprints. We need some kind of evaluation on this work item, and we want to show and get the quick feedback from the product management team on this, so that we can plan our upcoming sprints in a proper way with the relevant stories that we are planning based on this fundamental work item what we are picking up in the sprint. So now when you came to know that the product managers are not going to be available, please inform this to the team member who is working on this particular fundamental work item story, and ask the person to work on that work item and ensure that we are completing before the mid of the sprint, so that we can quickly share that information in a particular environment we can deploy, and share that environment to the product managers to have a quick check and get their feedback quickly, so that even though they are on vacation for 2 weeks, they are not available for the sprint review meeting, still we are able to collect the quick feedback from them in this week itself if we are prioritizing and ordering that particular work item in the first week of the sprint. So to get in scenarios where some of your key stakeholders are not available to review your work item on the sprint review meeting and give the feedback, it is always best to plan according to the availability of them, so that you can share and get the quick feedback, because it is also a critical item that decides your upcoming stories in the upcoming sprint. So the third point is, the problem statement is, to get the quick feedback, what we need to do, plan the work items well in advance in a way so that you are able to share that environment and get the quick feedback. So the interview question is very simple, but this is a very, very practical scenario that we face in most of our sprint execution. So in sprint execution, as a Scrum Master, what is your contribution to order the work items? So we talked about intermediate testing that will resolve the problem, which is the testing bandwidth at the end of the sprint. So we need to plan the work items that need testing and plan it in a way that intermediate testing can happen, so the tester also gets some kind of right bandwidth to manage the work. Second thing is, it's all about dependency management. Even though it is not so advisable to have dependent work items in the same sprint, but if in situations that we need to work on that kind of scenario, always ensure that you are clearing the work item that is going to solve the dependency, so that other team members will not have that waiting period. Ensure that this kind of work item that will solve the dependency should be picked up first. And the third one is related to getting the quick feedback when some of the key stakeholders are not available during your sprint review. So always gather that information from the product owner or any stakeholders. If you are getting to know, always have that check, and we will talk about what are the best practices for the sprint review. That time we will cover how to calendarize the meeting well in advance. So you'll get to know if some key stakeholders are not available, and if you want to get the quick feedback for some of the critical items, always plan those work items well in advance in your sprint execution, so that you can share quickly the environment and they can give the feedback, so that it will be easy for us to plan our upcoming work items in the upcoming sprint. So this is the topic I want to cover today. Very important topic in actual scenarios. Thank you everyone for listening. Happy learning and stay tuned.